Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The nation's electricity generation portfolio is in the midst of a significant transition. We doubled our capacity to generate renewable electricity from wind and solar in just 4 years. And last year, nearly half of our all new generation capacity came from wind. There's also been a large increase in natural gas generation. Commissioner LaFleur, what is the primary reason utilities are increasing their natural gas generation?
I'd say the primary, if I had to point to one reason, is the reduced cost of natural gas. I mean, most of the nation's coal fleet was built when that was by far the cheapest fuel, and now that gas is the cheapest fuel, people at the market is responding.
In your testimony, you discussed how natural gas generation also supports the expansion of renewable energy. Could you explain how wind and solar power benefit from the increased use of natural gas for electricity generation?
Yeah. Yes, because wind and solar, they don't consume fuel, but they can only operate when the wind is blowing or the sun is shining for the most part. You need quick ramping resources that can fill in when they ramp down. And because natural gas machines tend to be more flexible, they're well adapted to that filling in with wind and solar.
As utilities move from coal-fired generation to cheaper, cleaner, and more flexible sources of power, we hear complaints about the retirements of coal-fired plants. Commissioner LaFleur, my understanding is that most of the planned retirements are the oldest, least efficient coal plants. These are plants that have operated for 50 or 60 years or even longer. Is that right?
Yes, for the most part. I mean, we're monitoring this. We get reports from the different regions of the country, and most of the first coal plants to retire are the older, built in the 50s and 60s, most expensive to run, and for that reason they were rarely operated. It's like if they came up with a new rule that you needed some expensive braking system for your car, first thing you do is put it on the car you drive to work every day. But if you had a car you only drove on vacation, you might say, gee, do I want to spend the money on a car I drive once a year? Some of these plants were kind of on the edge of the system.
Okay. Well, moving away from the oldest, dirtiest generation is reducing our carbon pollution. Many other coal-fired power plants are going to be installing modern pollution controls to reduce their toxic emissions for the first time. That's going to provide tremendous health benefits. This transition in our energy sector is important for the climate and for public health. It's a positive development, but like all major transitions, it requires planning. Commissioner LaFleur, in your testimony, you said that this is a time to plan, not to panic. Do you believe the communications, scheduling, infrastructure issues we're talking about today are manageable?
Yes, I do.
Is this an area where FERC should be promulgating national rules, or is regional action more appropriate?
As I said in my testimony, right now I think the infrastructure issues are better tackled regionally because the different markets have different rules. But if we do something on either the schedules or on communication, those might lend themselves to national action.
Well, sounds like FERC and grid operators are doing exactly what they should be doing, identifying the challenges posed by this transition and developing solutions to address those challenges. We're moving away from a coal-heavy energy portfolio to a truly diverse energy portfolio. If we want to prevent the worst impacts of climate change, our energy infrastructure will need to continue changing in the years and decades to come. Commissioner LaFleur, as regional action is taken to accommodate the energy transition we're seeing, in your view, would it be prudent for regional planners to anticipate that greater carbon pollution emission reductions are likely to be required in the future?
Most of the planners, whether they're at the state level or at the regional level, do scenario planning, and it's probably prudent to model, well, what if there's new carbon legislation? We don't have that legislation now, so it's not an immediate thing to plan for, but they probably model multiple futures, and I think they should.
Well, I would think that they would anticipate not having the same do-nothing Congress we have now forever. And even stop clock is correct twice a day. So perhaps we will get bipartisan support and do something about climate change, and that, I think, would be all to the good. Thank you very much for your